Hello YouTube, and welcome to a very windy Hayling Island. And this is my belated 1 year ownership review of my Triumph Scrambler. You should have had this video back in like mid-August, but as you can tell from the poppy up there on the brake fluid reservoir that it's a little bit late, so it's more like a 1.25 year ownership review. Since the last sort of review video I did, which I think was like a 3-month one, there's been a few little changes, but nothing too major. The most obvious, of course, will be the exhaust pipe. We've got rid of the stock exhaust, as you would know if you watch my channel regularly. Basically, off the back of that 3-month video, I mentioned about the Arrow. It's expensive, may get something alternative. Someone did suggest what I've got here, which, if you'd seen my Project Scrambler video that I did this on, which I think was episode 1 of only about 3, we've got these tailpipes which have just gone straight into the stock headers. Now these are Volkswagen Beetle tailpipes, available from eBay for about £20–25, and they fit straight in, no problem. I'll link in the video where I've featured them a bit more. And the sound of them, it's the nearest you can get to the Arrow pipe without spending £750. I think for £20–25, it is a absolute bargain for the sound you get, and there's not really any lack of performance, or there's no change really, not that I've noticed. All I did after doing that was remap the EFI with the Arrow 2-into-1 map, and it seems to be running absolutely fine. So the only other little change I've done that you wouldn't have seen yet is this, if we can see it in the light. There we go. The oil cooler guard there from Square Deals, with of course the Union flag on it. Otherwise, it's all pretty much the same usual stuff. I mean, I did put that Union flag, fast idle switch lever on there. The other upgrades I want to do to it is tail tidy and the LED indicator kit that you can get, which will change the brake light and the indicators to something a little bit more modern looking, but I don't think it's too much. I don't think it's too much modern. It'll look a lot better, I think, because I do find the front indicators, certainly, they do seem to stick out a little bit too far for my liking. So that's the only other sort of change that's on the cards at the minute, but that's as soon as I can afford that sort of thing, which won't be till after Christmas, I'm sure. But yeah, after a year, it's all still looking quite nice and clean and tidy. The only damage report, if you've seen my little off-roading incident, just the scuff on it's a slight dent as well on the header pipe there. That's really the only major damage, other than the bracket there's a little bit bent from the little drop that happened. But like I said, I was going to get a different brake fluid reservoir thing there. I was going to get like the direct one, the one that sits straight on top there, which will get rid of all that. So that should tidy things up nicely. One other thing, I've put these on today. Last year at the bike show, Triumph were giving away all sorts of freebies, so I picked up a couple of wristbands. I don't know why, because my wrists are tiny, and wristbands just are way too big. But I finally found a use for them. I'll just put them around here. So there we go. That's that. This is something as well. Totally my fault. This is when I first had the bike, and I had the ignition key, the fuel tank key, and the steering lock key all on one thing, and you can see it's kind of... no, we've lost the phone. Right, I've had to switch to the helmet camera because the iPhone's dead. Yeah, you see around here it's got... it's done a lot of sort of little dinks and damage around the lock there from when I had too many keys on here. One of my gripes about this is, yeah, you need 3 keys if you want to lock everything. So now I've taken them off and I've put them onto my separate keys that I keep in my pocket. Now, right, quick one about tyres. The stock tyres that came with it are the Bridgestone Trail Wings, which off-road they weren't too bad actually, but on-road not so good. They didn't inspire that much confidence in the corners and stuff. Plus the rear tyre only lasted 4,500 miles, so I changed them to the Metzler Torrents, which are these on here. And as you can see, if I can get close enough without blocking the light, there's still a good amount of tread left on them, and these have done over 4,500 already. Right, mileage. 8,715 miles. There you go. Right, I think walk around wise, that's all I needed to do there. So the rest of it we can discuss on the road. So let's get going, shall we? Oh, yeah, these ruts over here that you can see. Yeah, that was me. I kind of went a bit into the deep stuff and yeah, was kind of slipping around, struggling to get out of it. But I managed without falling over, so that's all good. So yeah, over this stuff, this gravelly stuff, it's all right. These tyres, the Bridgestone trail wings, they did quite well off road. To be fair to them, it's an Africa Twin. Little does he realise the sticker on the back of that sign that he's probably looking at is mine. If it's still there, that is. But yeah, the front tyre on the Bridgestones, that still had a fair bit of life left in it, which was a little bit annoying, really. But no, I decided to go for the Metzeler Torrents after several recommendations, and I think that was a good call. Now, I've not really gone off-road on the Metzelers. I did a little bit. I did have a little attempt at a very muddy byway up in Leicester. When was that? Oh, that was after the Dove Cottage ride. Anyway, yeah. Saw this byway, I thought, oh, let's have a look. It was really wet and muddy, and the bike was just all over the place, and I thought, no, I'm not having this, because I would have definitely fallen off. Especially because I'm short, and once you start to lose it and you lose balance, it's a long way to reach down to try and stabilise it, and yeah, when you've only got short legs, it doesn't always work. But yeah, for mud and wet mud, I think really you need some proper chunky knobblies. But I think for dirt and gravel, I think these will be all right. They obviously won't be the best, but I think they'll be okay. Just so you know, so if you do more road miles than off-road miles, then but you do a little bit of off-road, gravel tracks, fire trails, that sort of thing, then I think it's probably a good choice of tyre to have, because it will allow you to do both. So yeah, I do quite like the Metzelers, and on the road they're so much better. They do grip really well, certainly in the dry. I've not really done too much wet riding, but the bit of wet riding that I have done with these on the wet, and I mean proper wet, you know, almost standing water sort of wet, they do seem to handle themselves okay. So yeah, 8,700 miles in, and issue-wise, there has been some, but actually it's not been too bad. First of all, when I took it in for its 6,000 mile service, I said to them, I've been hearing a squeaking noise. When I'm pushing the bike around and you're turning the handlebars, you can hear something squeaking or rubbing and catching. And that turned out to be the wiring loom, where it goes. I meant to show you this actually when we were off the bike. Where the wiring loom goes into the back of the headlight. I'm not sure how or why, but yeah, somewhere something's moved and it was catching on the edge of the like the back of the headlight. And it had actually started to wear into the cable. Luckily, it hadn't gone all the way through the cable coating, but it was getting close. So yeah, it had to have a new wiring loom under warranty. So yeah, that was fine. All under warranty, all good. Also, while they were doing that, and they ran all the diagnostics and stuff, they told me that the speed sensor also needed replacing. Now, I've not had any issues with the speedometer or anything. It seems to be working fine. But their computer said it's failing, so they replaced that under warranty as well, which was good of them. So yeah, that's all good. And then the other issue that I've had, which remains a mystery at the minute, I don't know if that is related to having to have the wiring loom replaced or not, I don't know. Suddenly, the engine management fuse kept blowing. Now, that's a 20 amp fuse, so it must have took quite a bit of a load to make that blow. And of course, once that blows, the bike just dies. So yeah, it was going along. I had Mrs. 480 on the back. Luckily, we weren't going at any real speed. Yeah, just going along, and suddenly it just died on us. So after putting a new fuse in, after we realised that's what the problem was, went for a ride again, and it happened again. And again. So there was something obviously not right. And it may be coincidental, I'm not sure, but it did seem to happen after a little bit of a bump. Like one time it was over a little speed bump, other times there was just a little bit of a bump in the road, nothing major, just a little bit of a pothole or something, and yeah, it triggered it. But it only happened when she was on the back, so we was thinking there's something maybe loose under the seat or something like that. So yeah, I had the seat off, I had the tank off, trying to find the problem, couldn't find it, put it all back together, we went out for a ride again, absolutely fine. So whatever it was, it must have been something really silly that in my attempt to try and find the problem, I inadvertently fixed it without realising, or something. I don't know. It remains a mystery. So yeah, that's the only other issue I've had, really. Otherwise, it's been absolutely fine. Never missed a beat. So future upgrades, I've mentioned the tail tidy and things like that. Also, people have asked me if I'll be upgrading the shocks, which apparently does make hell of a difference to the handling, which I'm sure it does. That's probably something I would do if I decide to keep this. So yeah, at the minute I don't know what I'm going to do there. If I was to keep it and it becomes mine 100%, then that sort of upgrade, like the shocks and stuff, I would probably, yeah, definitely go ahead and do that. But at the minute, all the little upgrades and stuff I'm doing, basically, as long as I can revert it back to its original configuration, I'm happy with. I know I can do that with suspension and stuff, but I'd rather not, because that's quite fiddly, whereas the tail tidy and stuff, that's fairly easy to do. The exhaust, I know I can just bolt the other one straight back on and reset the EFI. Easy peasy. But yeah, when it comes to things like, yeah, suspension and that sort of thing, I don't really want to be meddling around with that unless I know it's going to be permanent. And there's also things like the, what is it? You can do stuff with the secondary air intake and airbox removal bits and... I don't know. No, there is things that people do, and it does make a bit of a performance boost, but I'm not sure if I'm really bothered about that. I quite like how this handles. I just like it as it is. I know it could be better if I really wanted it to be, but it's fine for me. I just love the low-down, torquey, punchy thing that it is. It makes me happy, so I'm not sure if I'd bother with any of them other things. But you never know. I might get bored one day and decide to give it a go. Or I might try somebody else's out that's done it and realise, oh, this is so much better, we've got to do it. Right, I'm going to pull in here, because I think this is it. Whee, water. This is the top secret Hayling Island Nature Reserve that nobody knows about until Reno did a video here. And now look who's come. It is me. Hey, easy now. Stay. Ah. Well, I guess you can see wildlife here at some point. At the minute it just looks like a bit of a marshy wasteland, but that means it's going to be thriving with food for birds and stuff. Nice view though over the Solent. Cool. Oh. Do you recognise this place? I remember a really old Spicy 110 video where he finds a speedboat up here. I thought there was a motorbike bay. Oh, there we go. There's your motorbike parking. Yeah, just park it in that little gap there. Oh yeah, there was something else I do need to say. About the rear brake, actually. Now, I've got a bad habit of using too much rear brake. I mean, a lot of the time, yeah, you use it just to trim a little bit of speed off here and there, but I do sometimes, when I just need to come to a slow stop, I will tend to use the back brake more than the front brake, and also engine braking. It's just a bad habit I've got. And yeah, on this, me doing that, when I took it in for the 6000 service, they mentioned that the rear brake pads are getting low. Just to be aware. They're all right at the minute, but just be aware that they're getting low, they said. So yeah, I've got to try not to use the back brake so much. But on this, you wouldn't think that the back brakes were quite low. So I do find the rear brake on this to be exceptionally good, sometimes too good, but in fact you don't feel how powerful it is. I've had it a few times where I've done my usual trick of using the rear brake coming to a stop, not realising how much pressure I'm putting down on the pedal, and locking the back wheel up. So yeah, if you get one of these, be aware of that the back brake can be quite pinchy. It's good. I suppose it's more like that for off-road control and stuff. And of course, being not compliant with Euro 4 or any of that nonsense, it's not ABS or anything. There's no ABS on this bike. And yeah, you will lock the back wheel up, which can be fun when you want to do it. So there we go. I think that covers everything. So that is my 1 year, well, 1.25 year ownership review of the Scrambler. So far, so good. Still loving it. It's a brilliant bike, and it's so chuckable. I love doing crap like this.